What's up, people? This is Bad Guy here again, talking about something completely different. If you've been following this channel for the past month or so, or like 25 of you, then you know I've been primarily using this channel to speak out on social issues. That will absolutely continue, especially because the social climate rarely truly changes. The social commentary is not my only interest. As I've said before, I really want this channel to touch on multiple things, including social and political commentary, gaming, and other nerdy things that have captured my interest, like the subject of this video. So, for those who don't know, I am a huge fan of Dragon Ball. I watched this show for about as long as I could remember, and it would not be an exaggeration to say that it has become a culture in and of itself. It certainly has left a major impact on myself and how I view the world. When I was younger, I watched Dragon Ball as a sort of escape. It was really cool and flashy with all these power-ups and earth-shattering strikes and all that stuff. It was a spectacle that any young boy could get lost in. It was very easy to learn the shallow, surface-level morals that Dragon Ball ostensibly sought to teach. Hard work is more important than social status. Our worth is determined by our actions, not some arbitrary number. We all have hidden potential, we just need to unlock it, and, most importantly, screaming is the solution to all problems. But as I got older, I started to realize just how shallow these lessons were. They may have been the intention of the author, Akira Toriyama, but a more in-depth look at the story, especially as it carried on over time, will reveal some of the true lessons taught narratively by the story, despite authorial intent. I think it's important for me to say that I'm coming at this from the perspective of a writer. It's what I went to school for. It's what I largely aspire to be. As a more mature, sophisticated observer, I can now more closely analyze the themes and patterns to come up with a far more complex interpretation of Akira Toriyama's work. What I hope to do with this series is do, admittedly, what a lot of other YouTubers are doing, to be honest, and that would be to provide my own take on Dragon Ball and its evolution. Not that evolution, over time. To that end, I would like to begin with a discussion about the plot of Dragon Ball itself. It began as essentially a martial arts-based comedy manga based on the legendary Chinese myth, Journey to the West. This is basically common knowledge among the fan base, but it's always interesting to consider this massive franchise's humble origins. The story was centered upon Goku, who, at the time, was a strange boy with a monkey's tail. This is basically where everything begins and ends in this story. Most of Dragon Ball was just watching Goku learn how to be a martial artist, as everyone marvels at his incredible strength. But it was still mostly on the level. There were many characters introduced as friends and surrogate family, such as Bulma, Yamcha, Master Roshi, and Krillin. Again, the story largely centered around Goku, but you got the sense that these were all capable, important, and relevant characters. But as time went on, their relevance would wane. It was a slow process in early Dragon Ball, but as we'll see later on, it will accelerate rapidly. You see, Toriyama has a particular style. He fashions himself a comedy writer, and it would appear that writing complex, heavy storytelling is not something he is particularly interested in. He rarely storyboards or outlines at all. He's a discovery writer. As a discovery writer myself, I can speak to the merits of this writing style. Oftentimes, you create character moments that feel genuine because you are letting the characters guide the story. Despite how fantastic the story elements get, readers will feel a sense of realism. Characters will feel like real people rather than plot devices. However, Akira Toriyama has a unique brand of discovery writing, that subverts this. Toriyama is less concerned with characters as he is with archetypes. Toriyama creates characters to fulfill the archetypes he needs for any particular arc, and most of the time, there are three: the hero, the rival, and the strongest guy. Toriyama occasionally mixes it up by throwing in minions to support the strongest guy, or perhaps have multiple rivals, or perhaps even temporarily swap out who the hero is. But this is largely what Toriyama's style is. This is very limiting, both from a writing and character perspective. Toriyama seemingly always has just 3 important roles to fill, and they always play out in largely the same way. That doesn't leave much room for nuance. Let's circle back to when I said these characters' relevance would wane. This is a big contributor as to why. Toriyama cycles through these characters, slotting them into their roles for the duration of the arc, then swapping them out for another. It's almost like WWE booking in that any character can be the main event talent, but there's only so far they can go when up against the top guy and the top bad guy. And also similar to WWE booking, once they've played their role and completed their part in their particular story, Toriyama just doesn't really know what to do with them anymore. And so he doesn't do anything with them. Or maybe if they're lucky enough to get screen time, they'll job, that is to say, lose, to whomever is pushed as the biggest threat in order to make them look stronger. This can be seen as early as the Ten Shinhan arc, in which Yamcha gets his leg broken in the first round by Tien, largely to showcase how much of an asshole Tien was, but also how powerful he was. This was always going to be a problem, but then Toriyama compounded said problem by introducing another problem: power creep. For a long time, Dragon Ball was less about pure displays of raw power, although that element was always there to some degree, and more about martial arts skill. Everyone had wide varieties of skills to choose from, and oftentimes, the solution to an arc was not necessarily to hit the bad guy with the biggest blast you can muster. Sometimes, winning took smarts, ingenuity, or outside-the-box thinking. That changed with the Tao Pai Pai arc. Basically, from that point onward, winning in Dragon Ball was less about having better fighting skill than your opponent or even being able to outsmart them in some way, and more about just being objectively stronger. This carried on basically from Mercenary Tao, in which Tao defeated and nearly killed Goku, who then did some training and came back and defeated Tao, and that's it, all the way through the rest of the series, Z, and branching into 2 separate timelines in the form of both GT and Super. If you have a favorite character in the series that isn't Goku or Vegeta, this combination of circumstances is why they'll never win a major fight. Toriyama's writing style simply cannot accommodate more than 2 characters and a strong guy they're trying to beat. He occasionally puts a token effort into kinda, sorta trying, but more often than not, everyone just stands on the sidelines while Goku or Vegeta fight the main bad guy. This style of writing inevitably leads to the show essentially becoming the Goku and Vegeta show. There was no other option except to swap Vegeta out for someone else, which happens occasionally. It also leads to rapidly diminishing returns. Even if you change the window dressing, eventually your viewer is going to catch on to the fact that the plot of every single arc is exactly the same. There is a major threat, and everyone scrambles to become strong enough to beat them. Goku defeats them in the end, either directly or indirectly. With help or alone, Goku is always involved in the win. This, of course, leads to the other inevitable reality of the show: serial escalation. Toriyama wrote himself into a corner fairly early on with his style, yet, to his credit, he managed to keep writing for like another 30 years, give or take a few breaks here and there. He trucked along using the only available avenue: raising the objective threat level of the villain. Mercenary Tao was a dangerous killer. Goku beat him. Demon King Piccolo was a genocidal monster who could level a city. Goku beat him. Piccolo Jr. was Demon King Piccolo, but stronger and smarter. Goku beat him. Raditz was an alien that also happened to be Goku's brother that was so astronomically powerful that he made Demon King Piccolo seem as dangerous as an angry kitten. Goku teamed up with Piccolo Jr. to beat him at the cost of his own life. Then there was Vegeta and Frieza and so on and so forth. Escalation with no upper limit, leading to our current reality in which the irrelevant characters are all powerful enough to annihilate planets with ease, and even galaxy destroying threats would be trivial to the likes of Goku and Vegeta. This plot that Toriyama has adhered to shaped Dragon Ball into what it is today, for better or worse. I would argue, personally, that despite Dragon Ball's success and how many fans the series has garnered worldwide, it could be so much more. Imagine Dragon Ball as a universe similar to Marvel. Instead of there always being one strong guy, the universe is understood to be infinite, and so there could be any number of strong people of all shapes and sizes. Imagine if, even in the scope of the story, it didn't always have to be the Saiyan characters getting 99% of the spotlight. Imagine a Dragon Ball world that lives up to its ideal that hard work matters more than status of birth by having a human character train themselves to God level. Could you imagine it? I certainly could. And so, in this series, starting with this video, we will be exploring multiple aspects of this storied franchise and discussing how things could have been. I personally look forward to discussing my favorite anime, but also I look forward to presenting my own ideas on the subject. But I would like to know what you think. What do you think of my assessment of Dragon Ball so far? And are you looking forward to perhaps some future Dragon Ball discussions? Please like and share, and of course, comment down below with what you think. Until next time, be safe, take care of each other, and have a good one.